Hi guys, today I wanted to review the Legend of Korra series. So if you didn't know already, I finished the Legend of Korra series a few weeks ago, so I'm really sorry about the delay in this review. It took a lot of planning and organization to make this, so that my thoughts are in a structure. Because you know with the review you make notes beforehand, and I made a lot of notes. I have a lot to talk about. I'll try not to make this video too long, but it probably will be. I remember my Avatar series review was quite long as well. It was like 45 minutes long, I think. So you might want to grab some snacks before you watch this video. Also, for a few disclaimers, I'm not like the really deep, thoughtful conspiracy theorist type of person, so I'm not like, I don't go that deep. I'm not that analytical, so I'm not that intelligent, for lack of better words. But I do have a lot to say regarding the series. I have a lot of pros and cons regarding the series, so I've got quite a mixed opinion regarding the Legend of Korra series. So if you're someone who's totally 100% in love with the Legend of Korra series, then you might not want to watch this video. But if you're open to criticism, then feel free to watch the rest of the video. So if I do look down, I'm just reading my notes, but I try not to do that too much. Also, I'm going to structure this video from season to season, so I'll be talking about season 1 first, and then season 2, then season 3, and then season 4. I'll also be talking about the plot in general and the character development, and the animation. So yeah. And I'll be including timestamps to when I talk about season 1, when I talk about season 2, 3 and 4 in the description. Also, another disclaimer is that I will make comparisons with this series compared to the original Avatar series. So if you don't like how some people might compare Korra to Avatar, then yeah, I'm just letting you know that I'm going to make comparisons to explain my points better. It's the only way for me to explain my points better. So I'm just gonna go right out and say it. So first of all, regarding season 1, actually regarding the whole entire series, so overall I actually enjoyed The Legend of Korra. I do think it's still worth watching. So when I started The Legend of Korra, actually before I started The Legend of Korra, I was told that this series is not as good as the Avatar series, and that is boring, or it's just bad. So but I'm someone who's quite open-minded. I still wanted to check it out because I really enjoyed Avatar. Avatar is one of my favorite animated series, so one of my favorite shows that I've ever watched for this channel. So you know, The Legend of Korra had a lot to live up to. I'm gonna be honest, I very much prefer Avatar over The Legend of Korra. I know that a lot of you guys would agree with that. I'm just saying, but I mean, I still think the Legend of Korra series is worth watching. So let's get on to the season 1 review. So when I first watched the first few episodes, I was amazed by the animation. The animation definitely improved compared to the original Avatar series, because obviously The Legend of Korra, I believe, released around 2012. So obviously animation improved by then, and the Avatar series was released in 2005, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, but obviously it's a much older series, so that's why there's a huge upgrade in animation. So regarding the animation, it's a lot more crisp, sharp, bright, vibrant. I love the setting designs. I love the concept designs of, like, I mean, I loved it in Avatar as well, so it's in both series, like all the concept designs of all the locations, all the character designs of the characters, it's all brilliant. So yeah, I really like how Zaofu looks in particular. I thought like the animators have been really creative with like the concept and location designs of the areas. So yeah, that's a pro, I guess. So now let's get on to like what season one was actually about. So season one was about Korra entering Republic City to learn airbending. So Korra is very different to Aang, and I immediately noticed this when I watched the first few episodes. She's a lot more feistier. She's I'm trying to like not use the word brat, but I can't think of one. She did start off acting a bit of a brat. I'm gonna be honest here. No, I mean she's alright. She's not. I've heard like a lot of people criticizing her, and they've raised some good points, but she's a mixed bag. But she does mature a lot later on, and I will be talking about Korra's character development a little bit later on. But regarding the first season though, she I mean she didn't neglect her duty, but I just thought Aang was more mature than her, even though he was a lot younger than her. So that's what put me off a little bit. The fact that Korra is like 16 or 17 in season one, and she acts a little bit more immature. But I guess the reason is because Aang was brought up as a monk, as an air nomad, so he had a lot more wisdom because of his upbringing. And that's why he's so mature for his age. So that's in defense for the writers, I guess, but I just wanted to raise that point that Korra is a lot different to Aang, and I totally understand that. I totally respect the fact that they wanted Korra to be very different to Aang, because obviously you don't want like a copycat of Aang. So when I started the series, I was a bit sad, to be honest, because I really loved the original Avatar characters. So, The Legend of Korra is set decades and decades after the events of the original Avatar series. So, a lot of the characters in the original Avatar series are in fact dead or just really old. So, Appa's gone. Appa is no longer around in Korra's time. Obviously Aang has to be dead, because then there's no new Avatar, there's no Korra if Aang is still around. So I understand Aang being dead, but it's sad to know that he died quite early on. Did they explain how he died? I don't think they actually explained how he died. Aang, I mean. It seems he died pretty young, or just, I don't know. They didn't show him as an old man, so I don't know. But like, I'm just gonna say it, like with the team. So Korra's team consists of Asami, Mako, and Bolin. That's like, I mean, and Tenzin as well, I guess, if you want to include him. So that's Korra's team. Aang's team included Sokka, Toph, Katara, and eventually Zuko. I prefer Aang's team a lot more. I connected more with them compared to Korra's team. But before I get more into like the whole character development, I just want to explain like what the actual plot was for season one. Let's just recap a little bit here. So as I said, Korra learns airbending in Republic City and faces an anti-bender revolutionary group called the Equalists, which is led by Amon. And Amon, he happened to have this ability, energy bending ability, that allowed him to take away a bender's bending ability, basically, and make them a non-bender. So he had a huge grudge against benders. But then all the hypocrisy came. It turns out that Amon is actually a bloodbender, and he and Tarlok. Tarlok and Aemon were sons of Yakone. So we saw some backstory that actually showed a few of the original Avatar characters. So Toph turned out to be the chief of the police force at one point in her life. Sokka got involved with the law, court cases. I don't know what his exact position was, but he was involved in the court case. So basically bloodbending was made illegal in Republic City, and Yukon, he's a bloodbender, and that was his crime. So and then he raised Aemon and Tarlok to be really ruthless bloodbenders. So there's a little bit of hypocrisy there. And then like I actually thought Aemon was a really cool villain. I like the concept, energy bending or whatnot. Like he seemed quite threatening. He seemed really skilled in what he did. It was different, the whole idea of taking away a bender's ability, because previously in the original Avatar series we had the firebenders as usually being the villains here. So it was Azula and Ozai. And they were firebenders. They were like really skilled with their bending, and they were abusing their power because they were extremely skilled, powerful benders. So to have a non-bender was very interesting to me. It was quite refreshing. So this whole revolutionary concept, trying to overthrow the benders, very interesting concept. But then this stupid thing happened in season 1 that really pissed me off, and it transferred into season 2 as well, and that's the whole love triangle bullshit that was happening in season 1 and season 2. I already complained about this so many times in my reactions, but because this is a review, I do need to talk about it. So what I'm referring to is basically the love triangle between Korra, Mako and Asami. So Korra, now in the first 3 episodes, it hinted that Korra and Mako were getting close. I mean, they were friends, but it looked like a romance was developing, and I was actually shipping that. And then Asami comes along, and then Mako dates her. So I'm like, wait, what? I was expecting Korra and Mako. No offense to Asami or anything. She's a beautiful girl, and she's a very nice character. What I'm trying to say is that they were hinting at something else before, and then they show this. So I'm like, wait, what? So it got me confused. Like, are they really trying a love triangle here? Like, cause well, to begin with, I'm not a big fan of these love triangle type of stories I mean, just in general for like a storyline. It can be done well, but it gets a bit messy. That's the thing. So Mako started dating Asami. Korra got jealous. Korra kissed Mako when he was still with Asami, and that really pissed me off. You do not kiss a taken guy or taken person. You just don't do that. That's breaking girl code, first of all. And no one likes a boyfriend stealer. I'm sorry to say, I don't like a boyfriend stealer. Anyway, so it was so frustrating, because this led Mako to be very indecisive about who he truly wanted. So the reason why he didn't want to start dating Korra is because Korra acted more like a pal rather than a lady. Oh man, that sounds so wrong. I'm not like trying to make fun of Korra here. I'm just like saying that, you know, like, Asami was a lot more feminine in her appearance and her mannerisms, and Korra seemed the sporty type, because, you know, because she was one of the pro benders that took part with Mako and Bolin in the pro bending tournament. So she seemed like one of the guys. So that was Mako's reason. So I mean, so basically Mako dated Asami I mean, she's great, but like she's also really beautiful, and that's what attracted. It was physical attraction basically. And that romance failed clearly, and it failed pretty fast. And then Mako started dating Korra, and the thing is, there was cheating involved in this, and that's what really pissed me off. So Korra and Mako had a kiss, and they were getting close whilst Mako was still with Asami, and then Asami got betrayed by her own dad. Her dad basically the joined Amon on his quest to get rid of all the bending ability out of the benders. So you know, she faced a huge betrayal from her father, and then you go do this to her. See what I mean? Like, I mean, I know Asami didn't hold resentment afterwards, but realistically, like, really, you're gonna allow these people? I mean, I know they apologized to her, but like, still, I'd be like, you know, you destroyed my relationship with this person because you got involved. It's sort of like, you know, that kind of feeling, and it's not okay. So oh man, with these love triangle situations, it just gets messy. And that's why I'm finding it so hard to like try to articulate this properly, because it's so frustrating to think about, let alone try to articulate. So in regards to season 1 regarding character development, so I did connect a bit with Asami because I just felt really sorry for her for all the bullshit she went through in season 1 and season 2, because, well, as I said, her father betrayed her, tried to kill her. Let's not forget that. He did redeem himself, obviously, in season 4, but like, I'm just like saying he tried to kill her. So she already lost a mother figure. So her father betrayed her, and then her own teammates backstabber, technically speaking. So, you know, she went through a lot of bullshit, and I felt for her. But when it comes to the other characters, I didn't really have much of a connection with them. They all seemed, for lack of a better word, kind of bland. So with Aang's team, I had a better connection with them. I really like Katara. She's such a sweet, nurturing girl. And I really like her gradual romance with Aang. And I really like Zuko. Zuko is one of the best characters in the original Avatar series. He was so developed as a character. And so when I compare like the character development in The Legend of Korra, it's not up to par with that. So, and I really like Toph, and even Sokka. He's the non-bender out of Aang's crew, but he still was quite a badass of his own, because he was the strategist in it. He was the resourceful one and the strategist of Aang's team. So he was like, even though he was a non-bender, he was still really cool, and he actually had a backstory too. Like they did show like a few like past scenes of him as a kid with Katara, and how their parents got killed. No, the mom got killed. It's been a long time ago, I'm sorry, but what I'm trying to say is that we didn't actually see any backstory from Mako and Bolin. They did actually state it, that they had a rough time, like they were trying to make do, because they're orphans basically. They don't have a mom and dad, so they had to make do by looking after each other. But they didn't actually show that. They just said it in dialogue. So I would have liked to have seen them as little children, just for more of an emotional connection, you know. So because we saw a lot of Zuko, like his backstory and him going through a really hard time and changing his alliance from being part of the being part of the Fire Nation and then joining Aang's team to go up against his own father. So Zuko went through a huge transformation, and it was partially due to his uncle, who is my absolute favorite character from the original Avatar series, Uncle Iroh, and he was just an amazing man, and I'm so glad that Legend of Korra did include Iroh, even though he's dead. They included him in the spirit world, so that was a really nice touch, and I really like that they did that. What I'm still sad about is like the fact that a lot of the original characters are dead or just were not seen enough in the Legend of Korra, just in general. Now, because the Legend of Korra series happens decades after the events in the original Avatar series, of course a lot of new characters will be introduced in the Legend of Korra series. So in season 1 we got introduced to Tenzin, obviously Mako, Bolin, and Asami. Tenzin happens to be Aang and Katara's youngest son, even though he is like the most, he always seemed like the most mature one, because he was the most similar to Aang compared to the other two siblings who get introduced later on, who are Bumi and Kia. So with Tenzin, he's a great mentor. He's very similar to Aang, but I feel like he's a bit more rigid compared to Aang. Like, even Aang was a bit more chilled when it comes to the whole air nomad rules and wisdom and whatnot. But I mean, I still respected Tenzin. He's very good at airbending. He really wanted to teach Korra airbending, and she was just not getting it. So just going back to the point about how Korra is different to Aang, is that she's not actually learning all of the elements throughout this series. So she already learned firebending, earthbending, and waterbending. So she had this ever since she was a child. So that's the difference between Aang and Korra. Aang had to learn it throughout the original Avatar series, so he didn't actually have all of the bending skills. He just had airbending, but for Korra it's the entire opposite. It's airbending that she needs to learn. She didn't have it already, so that was the only bending skill that she was having trouble with. Yeah, that's why she needed Tenzin. And then like later on she is able to do a bit of airbending against Amon, because it was activated after Mako was almost getting killed by Amon, and that's how she activated airbending. So it kind of ties in with the emotions, I guess. Yeah, so for that, I just want to go back to the point about how there's so many new characters. So I mean, I love Tenzin. Lin, I mean, at first she seemed so grumpy. Throughout most of it she was very grumpy, and just basically she's very similar to her mum. But she's a metal bender. She is technically an earthbender as well, but she uses more metal bending rather than earthbending. She followed in her mum's footsteps by becoming the chief of the police force, so she's in a highly respectable position. She's all for justice. She's all about protecting Republic City from villains like Amon. So she helped out Korra a lot, and she even like saved her at one point in season 1. So she's a highly respectable character, and I really like Lin later on, because she has a lot of character development, which I will get onto later on. But I mean, there are some really great characters. So any other season 1? For season 1 it was just introducing like the main people. Amon was a great villain. I would have liked to see more of him. The problem that I have with The Legend of Korra is that we only see one villain per season. So when it came to Azula, she was introduced in season 2 in the original Avatar series, and then she was basically in 2 seasons. So we got to get to know her better. We got to see her backstory. They really fleshed her out more through a longer span of time, rather than compressing a character's a character's backstory all in one season, because it's hard to do that when there's only like 13 episodes in one season. That's not enough time to properly flesh out a character, and that's what I have a problem with when you try to do that for a villain that is only supposed to appear in one season. So ideally, I think it would have been better for The Legend of Korra to have a villain that sticked around a bit more, rather than one villain per season. Um, so yeah, regarding character development, as I said, there's not anyone really that I really connected to in season 1 and season 2. In season 3 and 4 there were a few characters that I did start connecting to, but season 1 and 2, like in terms of character development, there was just none. And throughout the whole 4 seasons, Mako and Bolin especially, actually I don't know, but like it's just, there's not much growth basically, and there's not much of a connection that I can find with them, because they just seem a bit bland or annoying. They've done a lot of annoying things. So Bolin, first of all, is a coward most of the time. He does things, he's not, I'm not expecting him to be like the smart character. He's supposed to be like the comic relief character, and he is funny. So he's like the soccer of the group. But like I mean, he's great at earthbending, but like it's in season 2 that it really gets annoying. So basically the fame goes over his head sometimes, because he did become a movie star. But it's not just that, but like the way he handled the whole forced marriage situation, he didn't even stand up to himself until the very last minute against Eska, and I'm gonna get onto that when I do the season 2 review. But like it's just, it was a bit frustrating. Mako with the love triangle situation was even more frustrating for me. That was just like an absolute killer, you know. It's just like, it was petty. It was just a petty thing that it was just so unnecessary. You didn't need to include a love triangle situation. If you are going to like show, first of all, that something was going on between Mako and Korra, continue it, you know. Like with Aang and Katara, the great thing about that romance was that it started off as friendship, and it was mostly friendship, but there were like subtle hints going on that those two were going to become endgame, and they did become endgame. And it was a gradual romance, so it made more sense. It should have been similar with Korra and Mako. I'm not saying that they have to be together, but like what I'm trying to say is that their romance could have developed. They could have like arguments thrown in, because as you know, that's being realistic. We're not trying to like sugarcoat romance here, but like to include a love triangle, we don't know who is gonna go with who, and I know that is to like make the fans guess, but it was irritating for me to see Mako cheat. That pissed me off, man. So, and I just felt really bad for Asami, because she really liked Mako. And she was a good girl, you know, she was faithful. And then like Mako went with Korra in season 2, and then he goes and then he kisses Asami. Well, she's, fuck's sake, man. Anyway, so enough about that whole stupid love triangle. I really don't want to like babble on about that, because I've already like talked about the mess of that. Let's get on to what I would have preferred. Rather than having the Legend of Korra series where it's a new avatar, I would have preferred an actual season 4 of Avatar, the original Avatar series, and that could have been like a whole different storyline, where it's Aang as an adult facing a new threat, because we were already really in love with these characters. So to have someone completely new, and then having a whole completely new concept setting, it didn't feel the same with The Legend of Korra. I'm just gonna be honest. I'm I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying that I think it would have been nice to see Aang and the others as adults. So Aang and Katara getting married, facing another threat. Um, you know, just to see like gradual development of how the whole entire world changes with Zuko becoming the new Fire Lord after Ozai's defeat. What happens to Azula now? I'm actually reading an article here, and in the article, Aaron Ehasz, I'm sorry for butchering the name, I don't know how to pronounce his name. So basically, he's one of the head writers of the original Avatar series, and he wanted a fourth season for the original Avatar series. And he said that he would have really liked to flesh out Azula more, because with Azula she actually became very paranoid. She basically became mentally insane in at the end of season 3. So he wanted to include like a redemption arc for Azula. Now I'm just basing this on one article, so I don't know if this is true, but I have been hearing about a possible season 4 for Avatar. I do know that there's going to be a Netflix adaptation of Avatar. So that should be interesting because that is actually being seen by the actual writers themselves. So it's not so I doubt that they're gonna ruin it like they did with that shitty Avatar movie. Anyway, yeah, let's hope for the best for that. So what I'm trying to say is that they could have expanded more, because the thing is, with Zuko, he really wanted to find his mother. We didn't see that. I know it's in the comics, it's in the books, because there are books that explain events after the Avatar storyline. But those could have been animated, and that would have been a lot better, in my opinion, than having The Legend of Korra. Not saying that The Legend of Korra did poorly, I'm just saying that, you know, they were working on this, and then it will be a shame to not explore this further with Zuko's mother and Azula's redemption arc, which would have been interesting to see how Zuko tries to heal Azula from, you know, all the chaos around her and the emotional trauma and paranoia she has. So yeah, that's the point that I want to make. So now I just want to get on to season 2 now. So with season 2, things start picking up in terms of plot. It becomes more intense, more serious, and new characters are introduced, such as Kia, Boomy, who are Tenzin's older siblings, also known as Aang and Katara's other children. We get introduced to another villain, a new villain, Unalaq, who is Korra's uncle, and Desna and Eska, who are Korra's cousins. So in this season, we are getting introduced to the spirit world. So these spirit monsters start attacking Korra's Republic City. So spirits start attacking, and Korra cannot control it. They can't, like, she can't like attack them, she can't kill them, she can't defeat them until Unalaq controls the spirits using spiritual water bending. And so after that, Korra is very intrigued by how Unalaq can use spiritual water bending against these spirits, and it's because of that Korra neglects her duty to learn airbending in favor of learning spiritual water bending. So she was actually supposed to perfect her airbending ability with Tenzin, but she chose to have Unalaq as her spiritual water bending teacher. The Northern Water Tribe occupy the southern one, and then her parents get arrested for apparently trying to kill Unalaq, and Korra's father is sentenced to life. But later, Korra finds out that this trial was staged by Unalaq. So Unalaq was basically trying to play as this good guy in the beginning. I always thought he was a bit dodgy. And I was correct in saying that because he's the one that staged the trial, basically bribed the judge when he was arresting Korra's parents for allegedly trying to kill Unalaq, I think it was. So like a lot of shit happened. In my opinion, the most interesting story and probably episode was actually learning about Wan, who was the first Avatar. And so Wan, he basically saved the world from getting destroyed by Vaatu and combining with Rava to defeat him and keep the spirits separate from the real world. So Wan, he basically was this normal guy originally, and then he traveled to all these lion turtle cities. Basically each city was basically like a lion turtle, a city on top of a lion turtle, and then from the lion turtles he got every single not airbending, bending ability, but he accidentally released Vaatu, and so he tried to like get him back inside the tree in the spirit world using Rava. So Rava is like the good spirit, and Vaatu was like the bad spirit that wanted to destroy the world. So he almost got the world destroyed because of this, but he did save it in the end, obviously. So it was a really interesting story that was very intriguing. I had no idea that they were gonna show the first Avatar's adventures and how that would link with what's happening with Korra. But I really like that they did that they linked one story with like what's currently happening, because it informed what Korra should do, because Unalaq wanted to release Vaatu, basically use the spirit pools to enter the spirit world and release Vaatu so that he can control the entire world, dominate the world, and then destroy it for some reason. So Unalaq was an absolute psychopath. He was like next level type of villain. It was interesting also that Jinora became more spiritually connected. So that was quite surprising. Like, I didn't expect one of Aang's grandchildren, one of Tenzin's kids, to have a connection with the spirit world and with spirits. And you know, she was helping Korra with that, with her mission to like defeat Unalaq. But then like Unalaq like strangled Jinora and was threatening to kill her. These villains. Korra enters the spirit world with Jinora and meets Iroh. Yeah, that was a really that was a surprise, because you know I love Iroh, so I was really happy to see Iroh, even though it was sad to know that he was actually dead, and that was his spirit in the spirit world. But like it looks like he's in a really good place. It looked like heaven, even though it's not heaven, but I mean like they depicted like the spirit world that he was in to like represent a really nice place for him to peacefully rest. So yeah, the Iroh basically helped Korra and Jinora, basically helped Korra to find Jinora because they split up. They were separated in Spirit World at one point. So Korra's mission was to stop the harmonic convergence, the next harmonic convergence, because with the harmonic convergence there is possibility for Unalaq to free Vaatu, and he manages to do that, and then he combines with Vaatu to become Unavaatu. So all hell breaks loose when he becomes this giant demonic thing, by combining with Vaatu to destroy the world. So it was a lot more epic than the season 1 finale, because it's a huge ass demon trying to like destroy the city. So Korra had to go inside the Tree of Life, no, the Tree of Time, to become her own great spiritual being. So she became like this giant spiritual thing, using the Tree of Time, meditating inside the Tree of Time, and that helped her to defeat Unavaatu. Unfortunately, she actually wanted to save Unalaq, but because he was combined with Unavaatu, she needed to take out both of them. So yeah, Unalak was way more dangerous of a villain. Like, this guy literally wanted to destroy everything. Um, to be honest, I didn't really understand him, but I mean, he was cool. He was very calculating. He was clever with what he did. Um, but his reason was that he wanted the spirits to live with the humans. He wanted the portals to be open, not closed. Um, anyway, so again, there really wasn't much character development in season two in regards to like Mako, Bolin, and such. Bolin, oh my days, that stupid bitch. So Eska, so she is an absolute psycho bitch. She is one of Unalag's children. Okay, here's my problem here. Like, Bolin, first of all, this guy didn't stand up to himself against Eska, but what my main problem is that Eska was a psycho bitch and she was made out to be like as if it was just comedy, when actually stuff like this happens in real life, and that's what pissed me off. Domestic abuse is not something to laugh about. I don't care if it's the other way around. If it's a guy that is getting abused by a woman, it is not to be made into a joke. That is not cool. If it's the other way around, I'm sure a lot more people would comment about that, but it's not nice to just like turn this into like something that's okay. Like, this woman should be in jail. She forced Bolin to marry her, and she was just, oh man, she was emotionally manipulative, abusive, just very forceful and controlling. She was an absolute control freak over him, and it was just made into a joke throughout, not just this season, but throughout the other seasons. And no, just no. And I was getting very frustrated with Bolin that he was not like telling her off for what she's doing. Like, the guy needs to like tell her like, no, you don't treat me like that. That's not a healthy relationship. That was the epitome of a toxic relationship. Like, I don't know what the writers were thinking to include such bad romance in for both Mako and Bolin. Like, what the fuck. In terms of Bolin, he actually did get the best girl. He got Opal in the end, so that's really good. I really like his relationship with Opal, one of the best ships in Legend of Korra. But I just mean in general, like, they don't know how to write romance. I'm just gonna say it. They have absolutely no idea how to write romance. And I know that the Legend of Korra is written by different people, as far as I know. So I can understand why, it's quite different. Yeah, but before I get on to season 3, I just want to quickly talk about Mako. Now, I don't really like how he deals with like romantic situations, but I do respect him as a detective. So he became a detective and he was very dedicated to his job. Unfortunately, that ruined his relationship with Korra, because he chose his job over Korra and even like snitched on her once. Just saying. But generally speaking, like, he was very committed to like trying to find out who is the culprit, regarding stuff just in general throughout the 4 seasons. So I really like that side of Mako, to use his detective knowledge to solve crimes. So that was really cool. So I would say season 2 is overall a lot better than season 1, but it's still like average. Especially when it comes to character development, there's not much that I can say, because Bolin was quite irritating. Eska pissed the shit out of me. Mako was very frustrating because the love triangle did transcend to season 2. But his detective work was pretty cool. I felt really bad for Asami because obviously like she was like recovering from like being betrayed by her father, and then her boyfriend cheats on her, so she gets a breakup, so like her life was like, the writers were savage when it came to Asami. I'm just gonna say it. So I feel bad for Asami, but like, I don't, to be honest, I didn't really connect with Asami apart from like that, what was going on. And what I mean by that is that we didn't really get like her childhood backstory, or we didn't really see fight scenes from her. Like, she used the lightning glove a few times throughout the series, but like it's not like a huge fight scene. And I know it's because like she's not a bender, but still, like, even Sokka had like a sword, and like, you know, had his moments to shine. So I was hoping, I mean, Asami is a great engineer. She's great with like working on these vehicles and stuff for the future industry, I think it's called. But like, I don't know, like I just don't connect as well with Mako, Bolin, and Asami like I did with Aang's team. Um, does anyone feel the same? So I'm just gonna move on now to season 3. Now let's get on to season 3, which is my absolute favorite season of the entire series. I really like season 4 as well, but I think season 3 was just a little bit better, at least in my opinion, mainly because the villains in this season were just absolutely badass. So the villains in this season was not just one villain. I mean, the main villain is Zahir, but he had a whole group, the quartet, the Red Lotus. They called themselves the Red Lotus, and their mission was to create an anarchy world, free from authoritarian rule. So it was a very different feel compared to Unalaq and Aemon, who wanted more control rather than, you know, freedom. With this season we were introduced to some new characters, more likable characters, might I add. So we were introduced to Lin's sister, Su Yin, Opal, Su Yin's whole family, because she has her own husband and her own children. She actually had 5 children, and it turns out that Lin and Su Yin didn't have a great relationship at all as sisters, half sisters. So yeah, and we also got introduced to Kai. So basically what happened in season 3 is that at the end of season 2, Korra decided that she will allow the spirit portals to be open still, rather than closing them. So Avatar 1, he decided to close the spirit portals, but Korra, she did something revolutionary, by opening the spirit portals, allowing the spirits to live alongside humans. So it took a lot of time for everyone to adjust to this huge change, and it caused a lot of chaos at the same time, because the spirits were like covering the city with like plants and stuff. So yeah, it was the first time of spirits living with humans. But at the same time, because of the harmonic convergence, it created more airbenders. And to be honest, I didn't really understand why airbending specifically, but it is what it is. So Boomy started to get airbending powers. So Korra's mission was to recruit all the new airbenders to be taught by Tenzin, because Tenzin is an airbending expert. He's an air nomad. He wanted to teach them how to control them and make them become air nomads. Obviously, not everyone's going to be wanting to do that. But yeah, that was Korra and Tenzin's mission, to recruit the new airbenders throughout the whole world. So Kai turns out to be one of the new airbenders. I really like his relationship with Jinora. I thought that was so cute. The moments between Jinora and Kai, that was really cute. So the plot line, half of the plot line, was that in Ba Sing Se, the Earth Queen is kidnapping all airbenders. So Korra's crew had to rescue Kai and everyone. So at one point, oh my days, the Earth Queen was she was such a bitch. Like, excuse my language, but like she was horrible. She was so like full of herself. She was having like so many like really high expectations, like so many rules that needed to be followed, otherwise she'll like, you know, punish them in horrible ways. And it was just awful how she was ruling Ba Sing Se. So I didn't care when she died. I was just like, great riddance right there. Anyway, so So Korra then goes to the city of Zaofu when Lin's sister Suyin lives with her family. I'm sorry if I'm looking down, I'm trying to read my notes. So Opal is the actual airbender in Zaofu, so that's why Korra went to Zaofu. Zaofu looks absolutely amazing. When I saw this city, it looked so cool, like all the metal bending shields around the city for like total protection and security, because it turns out that Zaofu was created by Su Yin and her husband. Her husband is an architect, and that they have like the best security around in case of an invasion. It's ironic considering that the Red Lotus did actually infiltrate the city at one point. But I'll get onto that in a minute. So yeah, so Korra came so that she can recruit Opal, because she became an airbender. Unfortunately, Lin was not happy about this, because Lin, like, she tagged along with Korra, but reluctantly, like, because she has a lot of resentment with Suyin. So Suyin used to be a troublemaker, and Lin is all about fairness and justice in the law. So Suyin committed a crime like years ago when she was just a teenager, but Toph, when she was the chief of the police force back then, Toph obviously did not want to arrest her own daughter. So that's, it caused like argument, and then she just didn't get along. I guess like personality clash, because Suyin is a lot more easygoing compared to Lin. Lin is a lot more rigid and strict, like Tenzin. But she's even more like, like hard. If you know what I mean. Anyway, so it's really nice that we get to like learn more about Lin, even though she's just like kind of a minor character. Not that minor, but in the sense that she's not exactly like part of Korra's inner circle. But it's really nice that we get to like explore Lin's past, get to really know her and understand her. And I felt for her. I felt for her and Suyin, and I like that they eventually like reconciled, and saw through their differences and just wanted to work together, and they rekindled their sisterly bond. So that was really nice to see. So Lin became a more forgiving person. She started to like accept what it is and just leave the past for the past, and rekindle her relationship with her sister, to heal it, to mend it. Meanwhile, the badass quartet, Zahir, Pei Li, Minghua, and Gazan, they formed the Red Lotus. So they were basically, Zuko was actually featured in this third season, and his job was to prevent the Red Lotus from getting released. So the Red Lotus were like so damn powerful that they were secluded in their prison. They were imprisoned in a really, really secluded, isolated location, so in places where you wouldn't normally see a prison. So for example, Paley, because she has like because she's like firebender, explosive firebender, she was imprisoned in a really, really, really cold place, and they were all protected, guarded by the White Lotus. So Zuko really wanted to make sure that they stayed in their prisons, otherwise all hell will break loose. Unfortunately though, Zahir ended up getting airbending ability because of the harmonic convergence, thanks to Korra. So with Zahir, he managed to free himself, and then he freed the others. So Zuko failed, unfortunately. I would have really liked to have seen Zuko actually fight. Like, we saw Toph fight a little bit in season 4, and it just makes me sad that even though we saw Katara, we didn't even see Sokka, because Sokka's dead, apparently. We hardly knew Sokka, and it frustrates me that we barely got any information about the original Avatar team. And I understand why they did this, so that we don't focus so much on the original Avatar team, but it would have been nice for Zuko to have his moment to shine. So I know he's an old man, but so what? Like, I've seen, like, in anime, like, a lot of old characters, very old characters, still fight, and they're still quite badasses. So I would have liked to have seen how much more skilled he has become, um, since his teenager days in the Avatar series. So, you know, there's a huge jump in, like, the time skip. So I would have liked to have seen, like, Katara doing something very skilled, very powerful. Um, like, we just saw her heal, and she was she wasn't just restricted to just healing. I know she's old and that she doesn't want to, like, overexhaust herself, but, like, come on, like, she could show us something that Katara can do. She can become a little bit more involved in what's going on in terms of plot. I'm not saying she needs to be in the front lines. I'm not saying that at all. She's no lady, but, like, still, like, they're badasses. We shouldn't underestimate them just because they're old. They know what they're doing. They've got years and years of experience compared to these teenagers, the Korra and her inner circle. Um, I'm just saying, like, I would have liked to have seen a bit more Zuko and Katara, and I would have liked to have seen Sokka. Like, we didn't know, like, did he get married? Like, is that confirmed? Like, I tried to find some information about whether Sokka got married to Suki. Apparently things didn't work out, but it wasn't, like, totally clear cut what happened to him. So I'm a bit disappointed about that. Like, I would have really liked to have known, like, what happened with them, like, in their adult life. Anyway, yeah, I was just a bit annoyed by that. What I will say is that I did find Zahir to be the most interesting villain, because his philosophy is more to do with anarchism compared to totalitarianism. So basically, anarchism is all about freedom, free from authoritarian rule, where you can do whatever you want. There's obviously flaws to that whole entire concept, but it's different because usually villains are very controlling and they want complete power. So to have someone who's like the complete opposite, I mean, he still in a way wants power if you think about it, but, like, not in the sense of, like, I don't know how to explain it, but, like, he basically wanted Ba Sing Se to not be ruled by a queen. That's why he killed the Earth Queen. She was a bitch anyway, but, like, it was just so savage how he just choked her and made her not breathe, basically. Damn, the guy's savage. So after he killed the Earth Queen, the whole entire city just went bonkers. Like, a lot of people were, like, looting a lot. So that's why there's flaws to this whole anarchy system. People just do whatever they want. There's no form of order, and ironically, he actually created a totalitarian leader. That's Kuvira in season 4. So even though he wanted the places to be free of authoritarian rule, he actually created Kuvira to, like, you know, take action more, and control the people more. And she was extremely controlling in season 4. The whole concept of chaos and order was really interesting though, and it's very intriguing. So Zahir and his group try to kidnap Korra. Zahir's first attempt was to infiltrate the Air Temple Island, and Kia attacks him after she finds out that he's not actually an airbender. Basically tried to, like, well, he's an airbender, but, like, she thought he was a good guy though. It turns out that he's actually Zahir, because he just cut his hair, and I was like, damn. I was like, when I watched those episodes, they first showed the hair with, like, a lot of hair, and then he shaved it off, and I was like, did you shave your hair, or is that a completely different character? I was trying to think, like, it kind of looks familiar, but I'm not entirely sure. And then it turns out that he actually did shave his hair, and he infiltrated the Air Temple Island to find out where Korra's location was. He found out using his psychic abilities later on that Korra was actually in Zaofu, so that's why he went to Zaofu with the Red Lotus to infiltrate Zaofu to kidnap Korra. That was a failed attempt. He did technically managed to reach her, but the others, they woke up and fought them off. That was such an epic battle. Like, that whole episode was like so cool. Everyone just fighting each other, Lin and Suyin working together, Mako and Bolin working together to save Korra, them fighting against the Red Lotus. The Red Lotus are very powerful, but I mean, there was help with trying to save Korra as well. So yeah, that was so cool. What I also really like about the season is that we learn more about the sub-elements. So you know how Zaofu has all these metal benders, so we get to learn more about metal bending, and Korra learns metal bending. Bolin, unfortunately, had a lot of trouble metal bending. He couldn't do that. But then comes a surprise where he knows how to lava bend, so that's another sub-element. And Ghazan is a lava bender as well. So it's really interesting that we get to learn more about sub-elements rather than the main elements, because before we just learned about blood bending and then metal bending. So, and then now in this season we were introduced to lava bending. So yeah, that was cool. Really cool plot twist was that the reason why the Red Lotus were able to infiltrate Zaofu was because there was a traitor in Suyin's midst. So the traitor was in fact Suyin's advisor, I think it's an advisor, called Aiwei. So he was one that helped Zahir and them gain access to a secret passageway. So Korra's team, they figured out that there was a traitor amongst them because they're very well secure. They were in a very well secure location. So surely it would have been one of the guards who did this. So they interviewed everyone, and then like who was it that figured out that it would be someone that that Suyin would trust most? I think was it Mako? I don't remember who it was that figured it out, but they all figured out that it was Aiwei. So because they went through his house and they found a secret passageway. He escaped, so they tried to track him down, and then Aiwei got killed by Zahir for getting found out by Korra's team. So that was savage. And then later on, so the bond between Lin and Suyin grew, like they're fighting alongside each other, not against each other, against the Red Lotus. So it really helped. Like, for example, Lin and Suyin were against Pei Li at one point, and oh my god, that fight was absolutely savage. Like, that's like, I'm quite surprised that this scene was included because of how brutal it was actually. Obviously they're not going to include blood in it because it's a kids show, but the fact that they included the scene was like, okay. So basically Lin and Suyin, they were up against Pei Li. Pei Li has the ability to explosive firebend using her third eye. She can cause explosions to happen. So because Lin and Suyin, they're metal benders, so they use metal bending against her. So to contain her, basically Lin was about to get killed. So Suyin, she came in and basically encased Pei Li's head with metal, and because Pei Li was about to shoot from her third eye, and because it's an explosion, basically she just made her explode her own head. Wow, like, damn, that's savage. That is absolutely savage. So because she basically encased the metal around her head when she was about to explode, you know, shoot her eye out. So like, you know, that's gonna basically fire back at her. So damn, these sisters are just like absolutely savage. The Bei Fonglo, absolutely savage. The Red Lotus, they wanted to basically get rid of the avatar ability out of Korra, and oh, this was such a hard scene to watch. So Korra basically got tortured by the Red Lotus, they basically put this venom, was it venom? It was mercury. They put mercury in her to stop the avatar cycle in her, and then kill her, because the avatar is seen as another authoritarian figure. And this actually caused Korra to go into depression mode. She was left in a wheelchair after this. So thankfully Suyin did save her by getting rid of the mercury, because mercury is a metal technically, so she got rid of the mercury out of her body, at least most of it, to make her survive it. But it left Korra totally traumatized by this experience, and it makes sense because a lot of these villains were basically after her and wanted to kill her. So she was on the road to recovery from season 3 to season 4, so there was like a time skip after season 3, and that was her road to recovery, to start walking again and, you know, be in a better mental health place. So that was really interesting. We started to see Korra's vulnerability, and that made her more human. I was able to better, not relate to her, but like just emotionally connect to her, feel for her, you know. And that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to feel for characters. It made her more human as well. So I really like that they included, they made Korra quite vulnerable like that. I liked how in season 3 there was more of a team effort. So you know how Mako and Bolin were, Lin and Suyin, they were going up against the Red Lotus. There was a huge fight going on. Mako started lightning bending against Mingwa, and Bolin was up against Gazan. Bolin was able to use lava bending for the first time. And then Korra was up against Zahir. So just before like the whole depression thing happened, she was getting tortured, and then she managed to get out of her restraints and then fight Zahir, and that was such like, it was an intense battle. She was so angry, and she was flying as well. He managed to get the ability to fly through his own philosophy, and then Suyin and Lin came and they restrained Zahir. The airbenders that were captured, they all, Jinora was a huge help again. She was help with when it came to Unalak, because she had like a spiritual connection with the spirits, but in this season she helped out in terms of like getting all the airbenders together to airbend a cyclone. So she made, they all made a cyclone to attack Zahir, to get him away from Korra. So then Zahir was restrained, and then Suyin just about managed to save Korra by metal bending the mercury out. But I mean, the damage was already done mentally speaking, because as I said, like, Korra went through depression after this whole experience, having been so close to death and being tortured as well. So at the very end of season 3, Jinora became an airbending master, so she just got promoted. So she's been a really great help. She really understood airbending and the concepts, the beliefs, the philosophy of airbending, and she became an airbending master, rightfully so. So in season 4, we saw a new villain, Kuvira. She did get featured right at the end of season 3, but she was actually one of Suyin's guards. So she was actually working under Suyin, but then she becomes a villain because she wanted proper order rather than chaos. So during the time skip and at the beginning of season 4, Kuvira was in charge of the Earth Kingdom. So she was like the complete opposite to Zahir in terms of philosophy, in terms of her beliefs. So as I was saying, Zahir wanted chaos, but she was a fascist. She was a totalitarian dictator that wanted complete order. So she I think like what Zahir did really triggered her to like take action, because once the Earth Queen died, the whole Ba Sing Se area was turned into chaos. People were looting, a lot of crimes were happening. There wasn't enough control over the people there. So Kuvira wanted to bring more balance by creating order. She was just a temporary leader though, so she wasn't like the successor, because obviously she's not part of royalty. But the thing that I find really weird though is that after the Earth Queen died, usually the successor, the person that ascends, the person that succeeds the disease, would come in within a few weeks, surely, like rather than a few years. So that's what I didn't understand. Like, I understand that Prince Wu is very young, but still, like, if he's going to be succeeding, then it should have been done a lot quicker than that. But I guess they wanted like someone who really knew what they were doing, because Prince Wu, like, he just seemed clueless really, because he was very young, very naive, at first at least. So he was supposed to succeed the Earth Queen in becoming the king of Ba Sing Se. I think Korra's character development really shone it. Like, so I was saying, like, she started becoming depressed after the whole ordeal she went through with Zahir and previous villains. Understandably, in my opinion, it made her more vulnerable, and she started to neglect her avatar duties. She started to disguise herself as an earthbender by wearing earthbending clothes. So she really wanted to have a more normal life, because that's what we saw in the first 2 or 3 episodes of season 4. It's a bit of backstory about what she's been doing, and her road to recovery as well, because she lost her ability to walk. So she was getting taught by Katara to walk again. Katara was very patient with her, allowing her like 6 or more months to be able to walk again, and she was able to walk again eventually, and then she left. And then Tenzin and them, they were trying to look for Korra, to so Korra started to get really weird visions in season 4. So in season 4, she started to like see herself in the avatar state. So she basically lost her avatar state after, even though she regained her ability to live, she couldn't reconnect to her avatar state, and the reason because of that was what Toph found out from her. So Toph sensed that there was still a little bit of mercury inside of her, and it's because her daughters are not completely amazing at metal bending. So Su Yin didn't manage to completely 100% remove all the mercury out of her blood system. So that's what is preventing her from reconnecting with her avatar state. So yeah, so she got trained by Toph in the swamp forest. And then later on, so it was really nice seeing Toph in the season. It was really cool how she was teaching Korra. I would have liked to have seen Katara having more of an influence over Korra, instead of just have her be a therapist to Korra, a physiotherapist to Korra, healer in general. Like, Katara could do more than just that, come on. But with Toph, like, it was really nice to see her help Korra. Toph offered to get rid of the remaining mercury out of Korra's body, but Korra did it herself. And then Jinara and Milo and Ikki, they found Korra in the swamp forest, because they really wanted to see her again. So yeah, they took her back to the Air Temple Island, so she reunited with Tenzin, Asami, Mako and Bolin. It's been like a few years since they last saw her, so there's been a time skip. So meanwhile, Bolin was working for Kuvira, and this pissed me off. This pissed me off that Bolin and Varric were working for Kuvira. Kuvira was like having so much control over people that if you don't work for her, then you're like an enemy to her. She'll punish you. So there was a lot of intimidation. So basically she told Varric and Bolin to help her with like harvesting spirit vines. Varric had to make a giant spiritual weapon for her, to basically use in case there was a threat. So that was So this super weapon was enough to like destroy cities like this. Like at the very end, when there was this huge battle between Korra's team against Kavira and what was his name, Batara Jr. So Kavira was she was so crazy about wanting order. She created a super weapon to intimidate Republic City with. She wanted Republic City to surrender. She wanted to own Republic City and the rest of the world. And she used it with this gigantic robotic mecha suit. Like it wasn't just a super weapon, she attached it to a gigantic mecha suit. So it was another giant thing to defeat, just like with Unavatu, except it's even worse. So Korra and them, they had a really hard time. Eventually they got through with Asami helping out with like with all the transport future industry vehicles that were on offer, and also with Asami's father's help. So this was the whole redemption thing that I'm going to talk about. So previously I said about how Asami's father betrayed her by joining Aemon. In this arc he redeemed himself and actually sacrificed himself to support Korra's cause to go up against Kavira. So basically he made the vehicles work again, and he used the vehicles to make a big hole inside the gigantic mecha suit, Kavira's gigantic mecha suit, so that Korra's team can gain access to the mecha suit and basically destroy the mecha suit from the inside. So that was the plan. And he succeeded that, but at the same time he got killed for doing this. So he became a hero, technically speaking. He did rekindle his relationship with Asami before then. So yeah, at least that was redemption right there. I'm not saying that it excuses the fact that he tried to kill her before. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that at least he did something good at the very end. And it helped Asami to forgive him. You know, to some extent. I mean, so anyway, so this helped a lot actually, and Korra was able to destroy the mech suit with everyone else's help. Again, another team effort. Yeah, it took a lot of strategy to figure out this. It's all mainly thanks to Asami's father, I think. And then Kavira came out, and then she almost blasted she almost got blasted by her own weapon at one point, and then Korra saved her at the very end. I mean, I hate Kavira, but I totally understand why Korra did that, so that she doesn't look bad herself. But at the same time, what I found really a little bit annoying was the fact that Kavira did so much damage. So she was a dictator. She intimidated so many people. She attacked so many people. She put a lot of people in danger because of what she did. She was prepared to destroy whole cities, for crying out loud. And Korra, like I think she was being a bit too nice, a bit too soft on Kavira, and I wanted her to like tell her just how wrong she was for doing what she did, but at the same time saving her so that she can be imprisoned for life. But I'm just saying, like, what Kavira did was totally wrong. So that's that. And then at the end we saw Varric and Julie get married. This was like such a last minute wedding, but like I really like their relationship. At first I was like, oh, she deserves way better than someone who treats her like a slave. That's how, because she's his assistant and he wasn't appreciating her enough. But later on, I mean, I started liking them because it just seemed cute. Anyway, so yeah, that was nice. And then something a bit out of the blue came. I'm just so like so a new spirit portal first of all came after this whole ordeal. I think it was a really risky thing to do for Korra to just basically try to shoot at the super weapon that was shooting towards Kuvira, like, because that could have destroyed the rest of the location. So what she did was was a stupid thing to do. Like, it could have destroyed the whole entire place. So thankfully it didn't happen, but I'm just saying, like, what she did was reckless doing that. Also, so another out of the blue thing, or at least in my opinion, I'm not like saying this to like offend anyone, okay? Personally, I thought Korra and Mako had more moments. Of course, I was completely against a love triangle, but in terms of the actual romance between Korra and Mako, they had more history. So I thought it would have made more sense if they became canon at the end, but it turns out that Korra went with Asami instead. I mean, Korra and Asami had great friendship, but that's all I saw. I just saw friendship. They did hint a little bit that they were starting to have romantic interest, but it's not enough to like make it sense. To make both of them bisexual, personally, I don't see that as realistic in my opinion. I'm not trying to offend anyone here. I'm just saying, like, to have both of them bisexual, like, within one inner circle, like, what are the chances? Like, I've never got any inclination that these girls were interested in other girls. These girls had no like romantic interest in each other throughout at least the first 3 seasons. It's only in the 4th season that they started like giving little hints, and I'm just like, no, what? um it just like, it's like they're trying to push something that, I mean, if you're going to include an LGBT character, it needs to be more of a gradual romance, not something that's kind of out of the blue. Especially considering if these girls had interest in men before, so it just makes it harder to. I mean, they're bisexual, but like still, I just feel like she just had a better connection with Mako, in my opinion. I would have liked that to be endgame personally, but I'm not all for like, you know, romance anyway. I watched it for everything else. It doesn't do well. I'm gonna be honest, this series doesn't do well when it comes to romance, excluding Bolin and Opal, Varric and Julie. I would have liked Korra and Mako personally. Apart from those, I really like the relationship between Bolin and Opal. So I'm really glad that Bolin found his happiness at the end, not that stupid psycho bitch Eska. But yeah, in terms of character development, it's a little bit all over the place. I do like that in season 4, Bolin started to man up a bit more and be more responsible for his own actions and be more mature, a bit more badass, just being more proactive and just being, you know, being more brave as well, by going against Kuvira after initially being part of her crew. So it's a little bit late. I still think that just in general, like, these characters, they don't really get much character development. I do like that they explored the more vulnerable side of Korra in season 4, because she went through a whole traumatic ordeal. So I do like that they explore. I do like in general that this series explores more darker themes compared to the original Avatar series, like mental health, for example, torture, anarchy, civil wars, etc. But I just feel like it's not enough to like just include everything all in 13 episodes, because the villains keep changing. I would have liked a better connection. For example, with Zahir, his backstory could have been stated a bit more, not stated, I mean shown a bit more. like there was no like actual backstory shown when it came to Zahir, so I would have liked to have seen that to inform the present, and to get an idea of why he hates authoritarian rule so much, because he hated them so much, the kings and queens and everything, and I was just like, why though? I mean, you have to have a very specific reason why. Like, did your parents get killed by a king or queen or something? So, you know, I wanted something more substantial from at least one of the villains being a bit more prominent than the others, if you get me. Um, yeah, when it comes to animation though, animation is definitely superb in The Legend of Korra, and I do think overall that is worth watching. It does not live up to Avatar standards. Avatar is definitely a lot better when it comes to character development, plot as well, and I just like the characters more, just generally speaking, in Avatar. If I were to say a favourite character in The Legend of Korra, to be honest, I don't know, because everyone has done something that has irritated me, to be honest. But if I really had to, it's one of the, I really like the Beifong sisters. I like Tenzin. If Asami had like, you know, done more in terms of like fight scenes, then I probably would have said her for for Korra's inner circle. But she hasn't really done anything substantial in my opinion. um I don't know, like that's the thing, like there's the all right, Jinora, I really like Jinora. I really like Opal, Suyin, Lin, not in any particular order, but those are the characters that I like the most. I'll say it like that, yeah. Yeah, I'm just gonna leave it there. So sorry if this turns out to be a really long video, but there are timestamps in the description, so you don't have to watch the entire thing if you don't want to. I hope I wasn't being too harsh regarding this series, but I want to be honest and objective as possible. Yeah, so let me know what your thoughts are regarding Legend of Korra series and how it compares to the Avatar series, and stay tuned for more.